In 1986, pharmacist John Pemberton of Atlanta, Georgia, came up with a concoction of coca leaf with sugar, and he added cola nut extract. That was the invention of Coca-Cola, which led to the name Coca-Cola. Coke, which had caffeine in it, and Coke, actually was outlawed in 1912, but in that time, it was very common to see Coca-Cola products with cocaine in it. Today, on our Mondays with Wallace, we are going to talk about marijuana use, vaping, smoking weed, using weed, and the differences of smoking with either Pepsi or Coca-Cola. So I have my expert, who's always with us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Stephen Cotton from SC Edibles.
Stephen Cotton from SC Edibles. I have an advocate, or I have one of my followers, Aliyah Peoples. She's here. Has a little information on Coca-Cola or Pepsi. Aliyah, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Coke.
Coca-Cola. So Aliyah feels Coca-Cola is better with marijuana. The thing with Coca-Cola is one of those drinks that's sugary, or they're all sugary. But Coca-Cola is more of a burst type product. So if I play basketball, I would drink a Coca-Cola and I would get a euphoric feeling more so. Whereas Pepsi is something where if I have a Pepsi, like a rum and Coke, I would sip Pepsi. Mm-hmm. So if you are a person who smokes, if you smoke, say, like a quick joint, mm-hmm. I think you'd probably be better with.
I like Pepsi.
You like Pepsi.
I like Pepsi. Brand preference.
You have a brand preference for Pepsi. Today we have with us Carol Lemire. Carol, how are you today?
I'm good.
Good. We are with Lee Michaels. We are at the Power of Voices studio in Culver City. This is Mondays with Wallace. We are live from Hollywood. We welcome you wherever you are listening, whenever you are listening. We are on Mondays with Wallace on Facebook. We are on Twitter, and we are on Instagram. Again, today we are going to talk about Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Lee, how are you today?
I'm good.
Good. What's new? Anything new going on, Stephen? You know, we had today. We had the Laker NBA
Media Day.
Media Day, and it was just down the street.
Media Day's going on.
We also had Clipper Media Day.
Oh, that's right. You're a Clipper fan.
I'm a big Clipper fan.
Been going to Clipper games forever.
Been going to Clipper games forever.
And you guys got Doc for another season, huh? Brought him back for another year?
We do have Doc for a season. We brought Doc back another year.
I think it's time for some changes in Clipper Nation, man.
Well, I'll tell you, with LeBron James in town, I'm really not convinced that LeBron is here to win it. Uh-huh. I think LeBron largely is wanting to be in L.A.
You thinking he's here for entertainment?
For the lights. Well, he is. Mm-hmm. Well, let's be honest. He is. He absolutely is.
You believe that?
He absolutely is.
I think it's both. I mean, it's going to help his brand. Coming to L.A. is going to help his brand. It's going to give him some things to do, but he's here to win, too. You can't think that man doesn't want another championship.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's both.
And he started that school, so he's got to make his money to keep it going.
He's got to.
But he isn't here just...
Not just for the movies and for the show and for entertainment. He wants to win.
They even showed today when they brought him in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like LeBron a lot.
You're
LeBron's
a Clipper
from
fan,
Ohio.
so of
I'm
course
a Clipper
you're
fan.
Speak against him.
I'm a Clipper fan. LeBron is from Ohio. I'm from Toledo, Ohio, which everybody knows. So I hope they win, but I don't think he's really committed to winning. And I think when you look at...
You think the entertainment and the movies and everything is going to be a distraction to him on the court?
No, it's not that it'll be a distraction. The thing with Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they have a brand that has been around for 150 years. LeBron's brand has not been around for 150 years. So LeBron is trying to build his brand. Mm-hmm. And even with LeBron, wherein Pepsi and Coke, they compete against each other. Well, who does LeBron compete against?
Jordan brand. Kobe brand.
He competes against
Jordan
brand and Kobe brand. but he doesn't have the years. LeBron he doesn't have, and coming to a different city doesn't really help him. He won in Cleveland.
It does when that city is Los Angeles.
Right, and that deal they gave him. We're sorry because you're a Clipper
Tons of
fan.
money.
No, it's not that I'm a.
I
am a Clipper fan.
It's not hard to get somebody to come to Los Angeles. It's Hollywood.
How much money did they offer him? I'm curious.
Well, he got somewhere in the neighborhood of $45 million a year.
Is that a year or for the whole thing?
Well, this is the thing.
He's going to get major brands. Sit back and watch.
Well, he will get major brands.
LA was missing a big star like LeBron James. Kobe exited the place, and we needed somebody to come be the king of LA, and now we got King James.
Well, we do have King James, and I agree. I totally agree.
Not a LeBron fan. I just want to get another championship.
I totally get it. Back to Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, similarly to LeBron, Coca-Cola is the Michael Jordan of Pepsi, of Coca-Cola. Coke is. So
which one was out first, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke. Coke was out first.
It was Coke.
It was Coke. It was actually Coca-Cola.
How much longer did it take for them to get a competitor?
I think Pepsi didn't really come around to maybe the late 50s. We actually have notes out to Pepsi and Cola to kind of defend their position. But Pepsi has always kind of been in the shadow of Coke. Coke has always been the mainstay. Things go better with Coke. Pepsi, what are some of the Pepsi Smile, Pepsi, the Pepsi taste test?
See, I don't drink soda, so.
You don't drink sodas? Well, okay.
No, because of the caffeine and all the sugar.
Have you ever drink sodas?
Years ago, but I don't touch it.
And which do you feel is better, Coke or Pepsi, with marijuana, mind you?
Oh, which one's going to have marijuana?
No, they don't have marijuana. Can you actually...
You're trying to pair the two. So what you're saying is when you smoke a joint or when you smoke a cigar, you want to know which one with marijuana pairs better with Coke or Pepsi?
Right.
That's what the question of the day is.
That's the question of the day.
So when you're pairing the two, like you pair a wine with a steak.
There you go.
Like you have a fine wine and you pair it with a steak or a dish.
There you go.
Yeah.
So are you saying when you smoke weed, you want Coke or Pepsi?
Well, that's the question.
But see, I don't.
You don't? Well,
I like some water or some of that new ice water that's got flavor in it, but there's no sugar.
A lot of people like the carbonated drinks, generally speaking. Pepsi has more of a citrusy flavor. So if you're the person who smokes marijuana, typically Pepsi gives you more of a flavor burst. So when you smoke, Stephen, or if you guys smoke, are you looking for flavor when you smoke?
In a way, though, if you don't smoke, how would you know?
I don't smoke, but I do smoke cigars.
Are you going by something you read?
Well, I only do look at literature. That's all I look at literature. Our show, Our Mondays with Wallace, is based on facts and literature and information. So what we want to do is, for our listeners, we want to come up with a mechanism where people can decide or be knowledgeable. And right now, today, we're just trying to provide our listeners and the people that do smoke, if you're going to smoke, there clearly is a drink that's better.
I noticed a lot of my friends drink wine.
No, well,
I was going to say my preference is tequila. When I smoke, I want to pair with tequila.
You want to clear? Okay, I get that.
I want tequila neat, and that's how I pair it with my cigar.
Can you actually? And this is a question. I know the answer to this question, but Stephen, as you all know, Stephen Cotton is absolutely an expert on marijuana here and cannabis and growing and cookies and I always think I'm going to stump Stephen with a question, and I never do. But
I don't know it all, man.
I've got him stumped today. I've got Stephen stumped today.
Do you?
I got you stumped today. If you're smoking a marijuana, if you're having a joint, can you actually dip it in Coca-Cola or Pepsi and smoke it? Can you do it?
Can you dip a joint into a soda and then smoke it?
Can you do it?
It's going to be wet. It's not going to be smokable.
Well, after it dries.
After it dries, you're still not going to want to smoke it.
And why is that?
It's because the acidics in the soda are going to start to get in there with the weed. It's not going to be what you want to smoke.
This guy is smart.
It's not right.
This guy is smart. I'll tell you.
You don't want to dip that.
This guy is smart.
Now, maybe you can do it with some alcohol, though.
It is acidic, and the acidity does tend to interfere with it. And there's also, you know what there also is in the Coca-Cola products? There's a very high concentration of sugar. Not marijuana, but a can of Coca-Cola, a typical can of Coca-Cola has about 30 grams of sugar. So 30 grams of sugar, what that basically means is you actually are pouring, if you take, say, this can here, you actually pour sugar in the half the amount, and you fill the rest with water, and you add your flavors. Coca-Cola, supposedly, and this is true, they use the same coca leaves from when they initially started developing it. So the answer is no, you can't. And plus the sugar.
Have you guys seen the experiments on YouTube with Coca-Cola?
No, I haven't seen them.
Oh, man. They take products like an egg, they take a nail, they take metal, and they put different objects in Coca-Cola and let it sit in there over a matter of time, and it starts to erode.
I've seen that.
It's terrible.
Seen that? Yeah.
And a good example of this is, that's why I don't drink soda anymore, because it erodes your teeth. It stains your teeth and it erodes your teeth. So can you imagine what it would do to a joint if it would do this to a piece of metal?
And I heard diet soda is worse than like regular soda.
You heard diet soda is worse? But diet soda, the acidity, but diet soda would be better if you were going to actually dip your marijuana in soda, just because diet soda, quote unquote, it doesn't have the sugars. The sugar, if you were to smoke sugar, let's say you smoked sugar, what do you think would happen? It'd be bad. Smoking sugar would be really toxic for your lungs. Sugar is really, when you look at sugar, generally speaking,
it's not good.
It's not good.
Oh, no.
It's not good. But
everything forms from sugar. Cancer, I think cancer forms from sugar.
Well,
Too much sugar.
there's an argument for that. People actually claim that that could be harmful. So we're not. If you're going to use Coca-Cola, and I like the Coca-Cola products, I'm a fan of them. I'm not recommending the high sugary ones. And I think generally speaking, you're moving away from, I think society generally speaking, is moving away from these sugary products. Is it okay with marijuana? Well, my feeling is if you're smoking weed anyway, you're wanting to walk around high. I think if you were to just down it with a Coke or Pepsi, I think it's fine. And I think I would probably, if it were me smoking, and I don't smoke, you guys know I don't smoke, I would probably pick one. But there is a better one. And the better one is based on actual research information.
Well, when you define better, are you talking about like healthier, or do you mean just tasting?
Tasting is tasting is important. A lot of it has to do with your brain. Your brain actually processes when you smoke marijuana. You have these dopamine centers. It's just like when you take opioids. There's something about cocaine and opioids that makes you feel fulfilled. Mm-hmm. It makes you feel
euphoria. It gives you that
euphoria.
Feeling.
It makes you feel that everything is just fine.
See, I don't always feel like that. So I smoke it when I do, just because I want to relax. Mm-hmm. And maybe I want to go out and laugh at some people.
Some people get that euphoria from a joint. Other people get that euphoria from just having a soda.
You're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Typically, and I know you smoke periodically. When you smoke, your objective basically is, and I know you have multiple objectives.
Yeah.
Because you use the sativa and you use the.
I use the indicas. I like the strong stuff.
Yeah, you use the.
When I smoke, I like to smoke to get an appetite. I love the munchies, and I smoke trying to go to sleep. I'm trying to go to sleep at night. I'm not trying to be creative. I know a lot of my friends that smoke for creativity. A lot of my friends are in the music industry. We're in Hollywood. We're in LA. We're in La La Land. Everyone's an artist. Everyone's an actor. And they smoke for creativity. It makes them creative.
You say that because when I used to do makeup and hair on photo shoots, I would smoke weed because it did make me very creative.
Is that right?
Yes, it really did. I did some of my best work then.
Carol, I got to be honest with you. When I have trouble with my hair. If you look at my hair, it's all over the place. I'm not wanting a barber to be creative. I'm not going to do
No,
my
but
hair.
I work on shoots. I'm not talking
We
about.
don't want the normal
not-
style
I
that.
wasn't talking about being in a salon. I said when I work on photo shoots or videos.
Okay.
You don't want the
And
same
with a
haircut
photo
as
shoot,
everybody
I'm
else,
gonna
man. You want to
be
be a little
creative.
different.
I've always had, and this is just a side. Carol is Carol Lemire, very accomplished, and the people that she's worked with is just. I mean, there's a long list of people. Can I mention some people that you've worked with? Is that okay? Yes, no.
I don't care.
Oh, Carol's worked with Michael Jackson. Carol has, I think you worked, you flew with him, and even you did all of his concerts with him. I believe.
Yeah,
Is that
but
correct? And
I
all his
only do hair pieces.
hair pieces.
So
I
there
see.
was more than just me. There was 2 hairdressers.
I see. Well, I'll tell you, for years and years and years and years, I don't think anyone would have thought that you were doing work with hair pieces. But if you looked at, even to this day, if you see any of Michael Jackson's stuff, unlike me, you could see Mike was getting some quality work. I guess I should probably get Carol to do some quality
No,
work.
no,
for me.
actually, you don't need that any longer. If they test you, they do have something that makes hair grow, and it's not something you put inside you. It's something you put on your head. It's well, that's another show actually.
Well, that's okay. No, that's okay.
It's a laser cap.
Can they make
and
my
it
hair
will
grow again too?
It depends. You might be bald genetically. It depends. Or you shave it maybe. But I think with Wallace, I don't think it's genetically. I think if he had it tested, he could find out that wearing this laser, because you do it like 4 times a week, his hair would grow in. I mean, I seen an alopecia areata. I was blown away with what it did.
Oh, is that right?
And I don't push something, and it's not something you eat or take. It's something you put on your head.
So it's like a
I
cap
like
or
it
something?
better than other stuff like they're doing microneedling, where they put your own blood through your head, and they're doing
Your own
PPRs.
blood through your hair? That would
Yeah,
be a
they're
little
finding your own
intimidating.
plasma can help things. So I'm just saying I like the laser cap.
It's quite amazing. Just since we're talking about hair, and of course we're talking about the difference between Coke and Pepsi with marijuana. As you get older, you find hair grows out of your ears and your nose a little more readily than it grows on your hair, on your head. It's quite remarkable.
All the other places.
Yeah, it really does. It's and it catches you off guard. You know, you wake up and you're like, wow, there's hair going on my ear.
Oh my gosh.
It's really quite remarkable. But women do a lot better than guys with hair growth, alopecia. You don't see a lot of women with hair loss, but typically I would.
Well, actually, there is a lot of women, but they're not afraid to wear some hair
Yeah.
to hide it.
Sure. Oh, this is true. This
is very true.
You see really quality wigs. And, I don't know if I'm ever, I've always had, if you've known me, I've always had, somewhat curlier hair.
I wonder if smoking weed can cure hair loss.
It's a good question.
I wonder
I
if
don't
CBD.
think so, because I've smoked weed and I haven't lost hair.
Well,
I don't see how weed could do that. I don't think drinking wine or that.
No?
I think it's more stress.
I think
and-
we need to get some CBD shampoo and see if we can help Wallace's
is
hair
there-
grow back.
is there- wait a minute. Hold
I want
on.
to see if we can get
We
Wallace's
could do-
hair to grow back.
We could
And
certainly,
also, he'll get rid of that pathetic ponytail.
Oh man, we didn't have to go there.
there you go.
I just wanted to see if it was going to
This
grow.
This is what
We're
what
going to come
happens.
out with a CBD shampoo for Wallace.
This is why we have.
Bend your
This is why
head
we
down
have.
a little so they can see what we're talking about.
Oh no, I'll pass on that. But this is why we have. This is when we have Stephen Cotton, and Stephen is so knowledgeable. he actually overshadows me here. And I wonder, do they make a CBD shampoo? I'm really
They
curious.
do. I've heard they've made it for animals.
Oh, is that right?
A lot of animals have issues with their skin. Mm-hmm. For instance, like rashes on their skin and things like that. So they take this CBD shampoo and they use it on their animals. I've
And
definitely
they
heard
got
of that.
new stuff too with CBD because somebody sent me some.
Putting CBD in
Where it's
everything.
got retin-A in it, and it's got how do you say? Not the TC, the
THC.
Yeah, it's got different things, but it can make the skin better. Because they sent me some just to try it out. They wanted to get my opinion after.
Well, cannabis, by the way, it has like 500 different compounds in it, And when you grow cannabis, and as you know, Stephen, and as many of my listeners know, I actually tried to grow cannabis, and I failed miserably. Looks like we have a caller. Hi, caller. We have a caller, and anyone knows our number here is 424-227-9461. Today we're talking about cannabis, as we talk about cannabis every Mondays. Who do I have on the line with us today?
Hi, my name is Alfo. I'm calling from Chicago.
I apologize. What was your name? That you're on Mondays with Wallace? I am Wallace.
I'm Alfo, A-L-F-O.
Hi, Alfo.
Yes, I was listening to your conversation there with my friend Carol.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a question about, you raised an issue about which would you prefer, Coke or Pepsi with your marijuana.
Right.
And I've been a long-time marijuana smoker, and I have to tell you, I've never wanted either.
Mm-hmm.
You would never pair the two, right?
I would never pair the two. I would pair the Coke or Pepsi with the popcorn or the chips that I would eat later from the Munchies, but
yeah, I think Coke or Pepsi would go good with something like a hot dog.
It does. Trust me.
Well,
it actually does.
I'll tell you. Long time ago, Coca-Cola products, they had cocaine in them, and there's your brain actually wants, like when you smoke, there's a part of your brain that is affected by the cannabis. So that's augmented, or that's aided by using Coke or Pepsi, just because you get a euphoric type feeling. So there is a benefit now, and there is actually now, if you don't like to drink Coke or Pepsi, I totally get that, but you should consider, because with the research that we have looked at, and I'm looking at Coke and I'm looking at Pepsi, there's a clear advantage.
Well, let's hear what Alfie has to say.
Alfie, absolutely. But there's a clear difference.
Because he probably knows what Coke was years ago. I'm sure he does.
Are you familiar with Coca-Cola, Alfie?
Yes, I am.
And you're familiar with Pepsi?
Yes,
so if you were to have a preference, would you have a preference, one or the other?
Well, let me put it like this. The marijuana is even better if you use it with cocaine.
Oh, I see.
Cut out the Pepsi or the Coke, because you're talking about a serious adrenaline rush.
There you go.
If you do, the marijuana and the cocaine together.
So I've never heard of that. You pair your marijuana with cocaine?
I've seen people
that's quite common. That is quite common.
I have friends that
quite common. It is quite common, and it's really I'd have to say it's an acquired taste, or it was an acquired taste for me back in the day when I would do it.
Gotcha.
And I had a 60, 70 hour a week job, and
you needed to stay up.
Oh, not to stay up, but and I would only do it after work. I mean, the two combinations. I did the marijuana all day.
Now, Alfie, if I can ask you, the cocaine powder, would you actually sprinkle it on the marijuana and then smoke it?
No. You could do that. I have done that, but it was hit the joint twice and hit a couple of lines, and that was it.
Oh,
so you were just doing lines.
Now, see, I've seen people where they dip it in it with the marijuana joint. I've never done Coke.
Yeah, no.
That's another possibility. After a while, I came to understand that because of the Department of Transportation urine tests, that if I drop dirty, I'm done. And so I stopped with the marijuana. The cocaine I stopped long before that, because I could see how corrosive it was to your body. It's a serious carcinogen, and it just it destroys you. It literally destroys you.
Well, Lyle, what were you saying?
I thought, well, from what I know about cocaine and marijuana, I thought they did two opposite things to your body. So I don't understand how pairing that would make, like, what kind of feeling does that give you?
One is an upper and one is more of a downer, right?
Yeah, so how does that, like, pair?
Exactly. But when you do them together, the
put you right in the middle, right?
The upper takes over. It doesn't give you that super, but let me put it like this. I would clean the house from one end to the other, including doing all the laundry, mopping all the floors.
Oh, can I send you an airline ticket?
But I don't do those anymore.
Sure.
I don't do any of it anymore.
You don't smoke any longer?
No, I'm beyond that age.
Beyond that age, huh? So you think that once you get to a certain age, it kind of just fizzles out and you just don't have an urge for it anymore?
No, trust me. I would still be doing it if it didn't elevate my blood pressure.
Oh, I see.
Got you.
See. But Alfie, I got to tell you, I think because we're really going to pick one, Pepsi or Coke, I think you're probably on the side of Coke being better than Pepsi.
Is that because of the history of Coke?
Because of the history of Coke, and people still, cocaine actually was infused into Coke at one time. How long have you? I don't want to ask you your age, but
66.
66-year-old. So you're still a youngster. But Coke has for years. Women would use Coke, and you can actually use Coke as a cleaning product.
Yes.
So,
Coke made it around the world before Pepsi really got started.
This is true.
How was it used as a cleaning product? Because you were stoned, or
clean your toilet bowls, I believe.
You can,
could?
yeah. If you look on YouTube, there are a lot of YouTube videos that and they prove that you can use Pepsi for just a number of things. I think you could clean your dentures with them. Is that true?
Yes.
You can clean your dentures with them. So,
I don't have dentures, but I know you can do it.
you got a lot of listeners.
I do have a lot. We have a lot of listeners. Anyone listening, we're really thankful for you. Our telephone number, if you all want to call in, is what's our phone number? 424-227-9461. It is on our. You can look on my podcast and see. I have to. Lee turned my picture on, so I have to look at myself now, and I apologize.
Bend your head. So
my head's really not that bad, but if I bend it down, Carol, I won't be able to talk. I can hardly talk as it is. So if I bend my head down,
soon, CBD shampoo for hair loss.
Yeah, but I think that you could actually use Pepsi as a corrosive product just for your head and shampoo, because it does clean. And as you get older, what happens is your pores get blocked. And Carol had mentioned a laser product, which is quite interesting. We'll have to talk about that one day. Maybe that would be helpful. But I'm thinking, Alfie, you're thinking Coca-Cola maybe is better. Pepsi has a little more sugar. Do you take sugar in a lot? Are you a sugar person? Do you drink coffee?
No, not anymore. I am diabetic, and I stopped taking all kinds of sugar, especially from beverages. I used to be a huge Mountain Dew person.
Oh my God, Mountain Dew.
Coca-Cola will open drains. Coca-Cola, you can use Coca-Cola on your plumbing, and it opens clogged drains.
Yeah. One thing about Coca-Cola, it has caffeine in it. And you know which soda has the most caffeine in it, Alfie?
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, exactly.
Are you serious? And people love Mountain Dew.
Oh, I love Mountain Dew. I used to have a paper route. And when I was a kid, at the end of my paper route, I'd always go get a bottle of Mountain Dew. And I'd always drink it. And even to this day, when I think of, when I see Mountain Dew, it reminds me of my paper route. And I used to always, at the end of my route, get Mountain Dew. And you were addicted. Do you feel, Alfie, that you were addicted to, because cocaine has addictive properties. I was certainly addicted to Coca-Cola products and caffeine. People easily can get addicted here.
I was addicted to Mountain Dew, and I drank Mountain Dew, and I drank Mountain Dew up until the point where it began to mess with my digestive system,
Hmm.
and I stopped.
I see.
And matter of fact, all Pepsi products began to bother my digestive system.
Now, when you say bother your digestive system, what did it do?
Constipated the hell out of me.
Oh, is that right? Is that
Why
right?
did it constipate him?
Hey,
I didn't know so
I have no
could do
answer
that.
for that. All I know there was just a big stopper.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. If you wanted to drink, let's say you're smoking weed, though, and I know you said, Alfie, you don't smoke weed any longer, but if you're smoking marijuana or you're smoking weed or anything, or even cocaine, do you know what Pepsi and Coke has in it? It has caffeine. Caffeine is what we call a xanthine derivative. You all probably haven't heard of this, but there's a drug called theophylline or aminophylline, and what that does, that actually, and this is what caffeine does. So if you were drinking marijuana, or I'm sorry, not drinking marijuana, but if you were drinking Coke or Pepsi, and you were drinking, if you were smoking and drinking Coke or Pepsi, the caffeine actually opens up your lungs a little bit, and it helps you have your diaphragm. So your diaphragm actually helps you breathe. You know how you breathe normally? What the caffeine does is it helps your diaphragm breathe and be more effective. So if you're smoking, the caffeine actually helps you. It helps you smoke. So if you're trying to get high with the Coke, or if you're trying to get high with the marijuana, the actually Coke and or Pepsi helps. So now there's a better one now.
So which one has more caffeine?
It's about the same. They both have about.
Pepsi has more caffeine.
Pepsi has more caffeine. So I'm just giving a hint. There is one Pepsi or Coca-Cola product that's better, and I'm thinking it may be Pepsi. Maybe Pepsi. We're not going to decide yet. We still have to figure from our listeners. Alfie, where are you calling from, by the way?
Chicago.
Chicago. I used years ago.
Do they have medical marijuana in the Chicago area yet, Alfie?
Who cares?
I'm trying to start a business out there, man.
Yeah.
Alfie could probably help you with that business.
They have medical marijuana here.
They do.
Is it legal, or where are we at? Is it in the same part?
Medical marijuana. Yes, you have to have the prescription from a doctor and the whole nine. You even got cards, medicinal cards that you have to have with you. But
I gotta.
When it first started here, though, you could go to the beach and they would sign you up with a medical card.
Yeah, I've never liked that idea. I've never thought that was the right thing to do, because if you're wanting to get high, which is okay, that's fine. Or if you're wanting to relax, that's okay. But I've never liked using the guise of this is for my glaucoma or what have you. And I think there's some real advantages to using the medical marijuana, and I think it's really helpful to some people today. It's certainly common. It's certainly very popular. Years ago, Alfie, I was lost, and I got found in Cabrini Greens. Is Cabrini Greens still around?
No, Cabrini Green has been totally demolished, along with all of the Robert Taylor Homes, Stateway Gardens. Most of the high-rise projects are gone.
Yeah. One thing that's really happened with marijuana, generally speaking, is there were places in our community, and Cabrini Greens, before they shut, and for my listeners, Cabrini Greens is a housing project in Chicago that was really havoc with crime and gangs and violence. Ronald Reagan had went in, and one of Ronald Reagan's presidential promises that he would shut down Cabrini Greens. Well, they tried to shut Cabrini Greens down, and Alpha, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but toward the end of Cabrini Greens, it became a really nice place. It became a place where it was crime-free. It became a place where they really tried to hold on to. So what's there now, Alfie? Am I right about that, by the way, or no?
No,
I'm
you're
wrong.
not right about that. I grew up in Stateway Gardens.
Oh, is that right?
It was in between Cabrini Green, Robert Taylor Homes, and the Ickeys. So just about every project I know about every particular project here in the city of Chicago. I've
Is that
lived here
right?
all my life.
Oh, I'm thankful for you. I'm so thankful you called in.
There's nothing lawful about the things that was. You see, what you're missing here is the conditions that they put people into those projects. When I moved into Stateway Gardens, I was like, I'd have to say I had to have been about 6 years old. And we lived there for like 9 years. And it was brand new. Everything was spick and span. The elevators worked. The halls were spotless. But it soon deteriorated as it filled up.
I see.
When you put people who are in desperation, who have no access and no opportunity, you're going to breed a crime wave.
Our projects today are riddled with drugs and gun violence. Was that the case back then, or was that a developmental thing? Were people smoking back then, or was it more alcohol?
It was more alcohol, but I'll call it a development to the point where they developed a lower class of dependency because of the lack of opportunity, because of the white supremacist environment that we lived in. And you have to come to understand, you see, this wasn't about the people. The people were simply suffering from what we didn't understand was we were suffering from what is known today as PTSD because of our history. Our parents, our grandparents, all of our elders suffered from this. But what these projects did to our community was simply heighten that dependency.
You know, I really have to apologize, but just like Coca-Cola and Pepsi have its brand, from what I have heard about Chicago, and I'm really going to apologize, but I've branded Chicago with a level of violence that, although I do see it quite a bit, I'm from Toledo, Ohio, and we do see a lot of violence there, but how do you shake that branding of the violence and the shooting that you're seeing in places like Chicago or a Toledo, Ohio, just an amazing amount of gun violence. And
violence.
Yeah, I don't know how you change it.
I don't think you can shake it.
You don't shake it.
I think it's forever going to be known as a place like that.
No,
you cannot shake it, and here's why.
Yes, you will.
The guns don't originate in Chicago. There are too many very, very close outlying suburbs where gun sales are legal. Then you have your straw buyers. They go out and get the guns and bring them into the city and sell them to the gangs. Even the police was selling the guns to the gangs.
Well,
this isn't something that the community developed, because of some type of negligence or some type of ignorance. This was manufactured.
Well, it's something that has to. There has to be a transition. There has to be. And I know this is challenging, but and again, I keep going to my Coke and Pepsi. Coke and Pepsi's were sugar brands, and just like Chicago is like a gun town, Chicago and Toledo was an old gang town, whereas mobsters would go. Al Capone is Al Capone Chicago? Do you know?
Yes.
Al Capone is Chicago. And now, so they rebranded that, just like the Pepsi products. They're rebranding themselves as not sugary drinks any longer, but they're more stimulant drinks. Look at the drinks we have now, and look at Chicago. Chicago will not be branded as a gun town. It will not be branded as a place of violence. I can guarantee you this. It may take some time, but I guarantee you Chicago will not be known the way that I know it. And it's probably...
I think one day you may be right. Well, a good example would be Inglewood. Inglewood was always known as Inglewood up to no good, and now Inglewood has so many things going on. The beach, the airport, the stadium, the new train coming through there. So it's going to take a lot of work, but I hope that you're right.
Yeah,
I hope that one day Chicago won't be known as a gun state, as Chirac is what we call it.
Are you talking about Inglewood in Chicago?
Yeah.
I live in West Inglewood. I've lived in this area most of my
life.
Well,
we're talking about Inglewood, California. We're talking about Inglewood, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But so I guess there's an Inglewood in Chicago, I guess.
It's an Inglewood and a West Inglewood.
A lot
about some crime, some shooting. That's you're right there between Inglewood, West Inglewood, and the West Side. That's where most of your violence occurs.
And going back to branding of our Coca-Cola products, and even Chicago, a lot of people have looked at Barack Obama, who I think is just the greatest president that just ever, and a lot of people have seen the shortcomings in Chicago because that's his spot, and a lot of people have seemed to feel that the shortcomings there, they've really pinned that on Barack. Carol.
Well, I'm getting off the subject a minute.
Okay.
The Coke. Doesn't years ago Coca-Cola had trouble because it had cocaine or something in it?
It did.
How was the cocaine in there? Was it through the sugar or what?
Well, they essentially used coca leaves.
Yeah, coca leaves.
They did
through the coca leaves. Yeah, through the coca leaves.
So how did they changed it?
Well, I think it was a natural entity to have in it.
Right.
So, Lee?
Go ahead, Wallace.
No. But yeah, it was, I don't know if it was actually fully infused, but I think it was just a natural byproduct. And in fact, as I had mentioned in my opening, cocaine wasn't really illegal in the United States until I believe it was 1917 or somewhere in that neighborhood because of the addictive quality. So when Coca-Cola was initially invented, cocaine was very dominant in our society. So you have to wonder, in that part.
Is cocaine used in the hospital?
It is. Cocaine has a lot of still medicinal uses. You can actually, its primary use is an anesthetic, primarily. So if you were to have let's say an eye laceration, whereas you poked your eye or something, they would put a drop of cocaine, like straight cocaine, in your eye.
Do they still do that?
They still do that.
Wait, isn't straight cocaine, isn't that powder?
No, it's a liquid form. And actually, it's not straight cocaine. It's a liquid 4% cocaine product.
What do they call that?
It's called cocaine.
What did he say?
It's called cocaine.
It's called the white girl.
No, it's called but it's called cocaine. That's what when the doctors need it, they call.
But what's the purpose in the eye? Does it freeze the eyeball or something?
It just numbs it. There's a lot of when
cocaine kind of numbs you when you snort it. I've never done cocaine.
Oh hell yeah!
So when you did it, sexually you probably couldn't do nothing either, right? If it numbs you.
Sexually, what they do, they actually will use topical anesthetics, and you could use cocaine on your appendage, and it actually numbs it. So if you were, let's say, you wanted to maintain an erection. A guy wanted to maintain erection. You could actually use cocaine to actually, apply it, and it would actually prevent the stimulation. It's really quite common. It's really quite common to see that, and what happens is you see people actually injecting appendages with, and you hear cocaine, the word cocaine, but if you were to have a toothache, you would go get lidocaine. Mm-hmm. Or benzocaine.
Is lidocaine got cocaine in it?
It's not cocaine, but it has the same topical anesthetic properties. Same. So, if you had a toothache, you could actually take cocaine and you could actually apply it on your tooth.
That's an expensive
and you would feel,
isn't it?
Well, it would be, but you'd feel better. You would not, be in discomfort or pain. So, there's certainly some medicinal benefits to the cocaine and the Pepsi. So there's real value. And I don't know and I'm not, as you all know from my program, I'm not an advocate of using marijuana, although people do it. And God love them. And we're experimenting here. We're trying to figure this out. Hey, Alfie, have you ever grown marijuana? Have you ever tried that?
Oh, no.
You've never tried that?
No.
What's in Viagra then? Do you think there's a form of cane in that?
No, but Viagra is called a sildenafil. Sildenafil is a bit of a vasodilator. So if you're going to say what is Viagra related to, and this is really a reach, but it's more like a coffee product. It's more like a stimulant because the sildenafil, the Viagra does, it actually increases your blood flow, which is similarly to what caffeine does. Caffeine also increases blood flow. If you have a headache, if you have like migraine headaches, you could actually use caffeine to help that. So if you are, depending on what your objective to using marijuana is, you could actually use a Coca-Cola or Pepsi to actually be helpful there. And it would actually help. So cocaine, and it's really interesting, Alfie, that you brought up cocaine with the marijuana, because there really is a designed benefit. And some people will actually mention, and I don't know what you've done in the past, and I hope you don't mind disclosing it, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. But PCP, phencyclamine, no. Have you ever done that? PCP, phencyclamine?
No.
You've never done that? Have you ever done any roofies or anything?
No.
Good for you. Good for you. I haven't either, but you'll find that some people.
Me either.
Yes, some people are saying, and there's a big movement now.
What is that drug they stick in a woman's drink and then they rape her?
It is. That's one of the date rape drugs. But there's some thought that these products can actually be helpful with depression. So
they are.
They are, for sure. Or at least that's the feeling.
Cocaine, marijuana. If you understand the outlawing of marijuana, you can understand why. There is a line of a site, and the name of the site is it's about hemp. It's all about hemp is the name of it.
Mm-hmm. Hemp.
And if you Google all about hemp,
mm-hmm.
there's an article that tells you why marijuana was classified, with heroin and cocaine and all of those things.
Yeah, Alfie, for my listeners, if I could interrupt, Stephen, hemp. Is hemp just another name for marijuana or cannabis, or is hemp something different? I always thought hemp was more of a constructive type of marijuana, or is hemp just...
Well, hemp is an extract of marijuana. Hemp doesn't have any THC or CBD qualities.
Oh, hemp does not.
Well, I was going to say, my shoulder must be getting high when I rub it on.
It can, though. See, hemp is the stalk by which marijuana is grown. The stalk, the hemp stalk produces marijuana. Now, the hemp stalk can be grown 4 times a year. You would be able to stop cutting down so many trees. Hemp can be used for over 25,000 products that are now oil-based.
So hemp marijuana, or is it not marijuana, Stephen?
Hemp is the stalk.
So it's marijuana.
Grows on.
It's marijuana. Mm-hmm. And hemp is not something you can smoke or get high with. You can't smoke hemp, right?
You can smoke hemp. As a matter of fact, I'm here on your Facebook, and I'm going to put the link.
I've seen hemp cigarettes.
Oh, you've seen hemp cigarettes?
Seen hemp cigarettes.
So hemp don't get you high.
But is hemp just a blunt or?
I want to say
No,
it's the part of the
hemp
plant
is-
before it's matured, and it has THC and all the other qualities into it. Almost like this picture
Exactly.
that we have on the website right here. If you guys can see this picture that we still have with the marijuana leaf where it says yes or no,
Sure.
that's the weed plant right there. But it hasn't started to mature, and all the THC hasn't formed in there,
Right.
the CBD qualities yet. So it's like he's saying, it's the stalk, it's the plant before the plant starts to get all the good qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And people take that plant and they make tons of things with it. They make lotions, they make drinks with it. And I guess since it doesn't test out so high with THC and CBD, that it can pass through with stores and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to get a license for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I put the link about this. It's a light party. The name of it is All About Hemp, and I put it in the comment section on the Facebook where I'm.
That's something
seeing
we can
your,
have a whole show about one day. It's just all the hemp products out there.
And I'll tell you like this: read it and pick your jaw up off the table.
Oh, is that right? Is that right?
I guarantee it.
So what's the
I
difference
guarantee
between a hemp cigarette and smoking just normal weed or matured weed?
I think you're going to get a lot higher off the regular weed than you would hemp. Hemp doesn't have,
Yeah.
it's not going to have much THC in it. It's not
So
going
what's
to
the
test
point of
out real
smoking?
high. Some people just want to get the flavor, get the plant in there, or they just want a slight buzz. They don't want to get too high.
The THC is born out in the leaf and in the plant itself. The hemp stalk has a little in it, but the percentage of THC in the stalk is far less. Even the CBD is far less. This is why we used to grow hemp from 1776 to 1933. Hemp was one of our major crops in this country.
Was that
because
right?
you could make clothes, rope, building materials, press cardboard. You could make all kind of medicines out of hemp. And as I said, read that link that I put in your.
Well, I'll tell you, and we're still on our Coke and Pepsi, but I wonder as a brand, where has hemp lost its way? Because if something's been around for so long, you would wonder how it would have lost its way. So
it didn't lose its way.
It did not lose its way. So do people?
No, it did not lose its way.
Do people still? So people still use hemp, and they still.
Hemp is illegal. Is illegal to be grown in the United States.
Can hemp be grown in California where marijuana is legal?
Hemp can be grown. Yeah, well, if marijuana can be grown there, it automatically comes with hemp. See, you must understand, hemp will take the place of 25,000 oil-based products. And if you take the place of, by using hemp instead of oil, what does that do to the oil industry? What does hemp do to the tree industry, the people who cut down trees?
Mm-hmm.
This was a political statement by special interest groups to destroy and basically monopolize.
So you're feeling, and maybe you're right, you're feeling that hemp was actually snuffed out.
Hemp was purposely snuffed out.
I see. Well, Pepsi and Coke, they're undergoing the same thing because of its negative, the sugars, and sugar is kind of a bad thing. I don't see where hemp was bad. So what were the premise that people would eliminate the hemp? Was it harmful? Was it just, I mean, why was it snuffed out other than just the economics behind it?
The special interests labeled it as a dangerous hallucinogenic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, no, I get it.
Hallucinogen.
Hallucinogen.
And they were trying to protect the oil industry and the tree industry, the people who were cutting down all the trees. Now, before those special interest groups became so powerful, and before those special interest groups prohibited hemp here in the United States.
Okay, so
we were using hemp for just about everything.
I see.
So they used it in cars? Lee?
So I'm sorry, my producer, Lee Michaels, was mentioning that Howard Hughes used to use hemp. Is that correct?
Yeah, he had a hemp oil.
Well, Lee is about as old as Howard Hughes, isn't he?
Yeah, we used to drink together.
Oh, well,
No, but he had developed a fuel made from hemp.
Mhm.
The oil companies, lobbied against it because they said, no, you can't do that, man.
Oh, is that right?
Is that because the oil companies felt they would lose money?
No, of course.
And that's a branding thing. That's a branding issue. So that's very interesting. I didn't know that. There's a whole show we could do on hemp. I didn't realize that. And I got to tell you, as knowledgeable, we've been doing this Mondays with Wallace, all about cannabis. We've been doing this for some months now, and I'm just amazed at how much I learn just every day. And the amount of information is just, wow, there's just an abundance amount of information. Today we are talking about the differences of using marijuana and the difference between Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Alfie, I know you don't use one or the other, but do you pick Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
I would have to pick Coca-Cola.
Lee Michaels, my producer. Do you
Pepsi.
pick Pepsi?
East Coast, baby.
East Coast Pepsi. We're actually gonna pick. And it may be a show. I wanted to wait to see what Coca-Cola company and what the Pepsi company had to respond, what their comment is before we pick. But there is a better one. Alaya, which one is better?
I'm gonna say Coke.
You're gonna say Coke. Now, I thought coming in you were a Pepsi person.
No.
You were. So you were Coke. So we have Coke. Alfie's a Coke. Alaya, you're a Coke.
Team Pepsi.
Pepsi.
I'm Pepsi.
You're Pepsi.
Yeah, definitely.
Team Pepsi.
Am I invisible?
No, you're next. You're next.
Well, I actually would drink a Coke.
You would drink Coke?
If I was going to have a soda, yes.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 3 for Coke or 3 for Pepsi.
That's 4.
No, it wasn't all.
We're the only 2 Pepsis.
Pepsi, yeah.
2 Pepsis,
Pepsi,
4 Coke.
Pepsi. No. How can? Because we only have.
What did you say, Eli?
I said Coke.
Yeah.
We have Coke.
I have
Alfie's
Coke.
Coke.
Right.
What do you say?
Carol's Coke. Oh, I'm the tiebreaker. But I can't say because unlike you
You
all.
didn't ask Alfie.
Oh, Alfie did.
He
Alfie
was
said Coke.
So 3 of us were Coke.
But I have to tell you all my background, and you all know I'm a pharmacist, and you all know Coca-Cola was invented by a pharmacist. So all my evidence is factual based. So I can't tell you guys where I'm going because I have to go with the decision, and we have to decide which one is better because my listeners want to know which one is better. If you're going to be smoking weed, when you go to the store, do you get a Pepsi or do you get a Coke?
Neither.
No, you got to get one.
Kool-Aid.
You got to get one. Kool-Aid is great. Kool-Aid is great, I'll tell you. There's one thing you could have always gone to my home and found at our home in Ohio. You could always find 2 things. You could always find some Kool-Aid, and you could it's always like the grape Kool-Aid, and you could always find some hot sauce. You could always find some hot sauce.
I would buy Coke. If I was to drink soda, it'd definitely be a Coke.
It would definitely be a Coke.
With a lot of ice.
There's a lot of ice.
We want to know the answer.
Well,
We've been waiting all show, man. We want to know the answer.
I got to tell you, I've got to get a little more information from Coca-Cola, and we're going to have their people respond. And they're going to have better information than we do. There's actually there's parts of your brain, parts of your hypothalamus that actually are responsive to Coke and or Pepsi. So it really
the
helps
answer is going to lie in whichever one has more caffeine.
So you think it's
person, if he calls Coca-Cola, first they're
Whichever
going
one
to say
tests
them.
out with more caffeine,
No,
it's
they're
going
not
to
gonna
do
say
more
because
to the brain.
I say, well, you never know,
It's
but
going to open up the diaphragm for the blunt,
yeah.
and you're going to be able to hit it much harder.
But the whole diaphragm, that's really important.
It is.
And that'll be one of the bigger things in our decision as to whether as a show, and this is important because as this show, people are actually standing by our recommendations. People are looking at our recommendations. Alfie, are you still there?
I'm still here.
You know we appreciate you, but people they actually are looking for our recommendations as people are using your SC edibles, which I'm really thankful for. SC edibles out of
Southern California.
Southern California.
I never got one of your edibles.
Oh, we're gonna get you hooked up, Carol.
Okay.
Yeah. As you all know, we were talking about marijuana. We were talking about Coca-Cola versus Pepsi products. We're going to have an answer for you guys. I think we're going to have to wait till next week to get an answer. But there's some hints. You guys probably have a good idea which is better. This is Mondays with Wallace. I'm Wallace. Carol has a comment.
Yeah, is Elia the one that's doing the makeup blog?
Yes.
That was very good. You should tell them where to go.
Elia has a makeup blog. It is.
Thank you so much.
Did you want to mention your makeup blog?
Yeah, that's. Oh my God, put me on the spot. But yeah, I have a makeup blog on YouTube. It's called Elia People is my name. ALAIA and then PEOPLES.
Okay.
She's quite entertaining.
Thank
she
you.
is quite entertaining,
so awesome
and we are quite entertaining. This was a fantastic show. I thank everyone for being here. We are going to see you next week. Next week we'll probably continue our marijuana with Diet Pepsi or Coke or Diet Coke. Probably better to do the diet products just because of the sugar. A lot of people are getting away from the sugar. This is Mondays with Wallace. I'm Wallace. We're going to see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us on the Power of Voices Studio Network. Bye now.
See ya.